Hello, it is time for the February book chat. I am Angelique,
I'm Kara. Hello.
and we are a couple of friends who like to get together and talk about books. And because it's a pandemic, we can't get together in person, so we're doing it over video chat. But the benefit is that you get all these book recommendations from us at the same time. And with it being February, we are focusing on the theme of romance because it's Valentine's season. And we have several titles to tell you about today from a wide variety of category romance heat levels.
Mhm.
There'll be something in here for just about everyone who
And
likes.
I'm looking forward to what you have to recommend because I have not read a lot of romance novels. I read almost exclusively science fiction and fantasy. I've chosen a couple of really great stories that I've read recently that are incredibly romantic, but also have some great elements of fantasy to them.
Yes, definitely. I came to reading romance pretty late in life, but I do like it because I love stories that have happy endings, and it is a genre that I am sort of dipping a toe in. I normally write realistic or fantastical fiction when I write fiction, but I am dipping a toe in these waters, and so I have done a bunch of reading research and a wide variety of different types of stories. So should we just start?
Yeah, go for it. You start.
So the first thing that I'm going to tell you about is a YA series, young adult series, and so the romance heat level is going to be mild or sweet. And this is a series by Marissa Doyle. The first book is Bewitching Season, and the second book is Betraying Season. And there are a couple of other books in the series as well, but these are my favorites. Um, these stories center around a pair of twins who are members of the Ton in Victorian England. They are debutantes. They are just turning 18 and they are enjoying their first London season in the first book, Bewitching Season. And it's a very exciting time for them because they are exactly the same age with the same birthday as the very young Queen Victoria. So these books take place at the start of Victoria's reign. And the interesting angle on this Victorian story is that magic is alive and well in England. And it's not the sort of thing that people take for granted. Having magical abilities is still kind of a secret thing. Not a lot of people have it, and not a lot of people understand it. So it's sort of kept under wraps. And there is a strong element of mystery in these stories, and magical in nature, and a lot of intrigue. And then, of course, you have this overarching romantic plot. And these books are just charming, super, super charming. The first one takes place in London. The second one takes place in Ireland with the second sister. And one of the things that is interesting about these books, I think, is that the second one is even better than the first.
Hmm.
So often with authors, they spend so many years working on their debut novel and it is just amazing. And then the second one comes out and they've had maybe less time to work on it. You get sort of a sophomore slump, is what they call it in the industry, where the second book is maybe not quite as strong as the first. That's not the case here. In this case, Betraying Season is even better than Bewitching Season.
Oh.
They are super fun to read. And like I said, they are mild or sweet in terms of their heat. And I would feel comfortable recommending these to young teenagers who enjoyed a romantic story. They are firmly ensconced in the YA category, and they are very charming and cute.
Oh, those sound lovely. Those are two books I definitely want to check out, and I
Like,
would love to read,
you will like.
both for the romance and for the Victorian era, which is just a beautiful time with gorgeous costume, clothing, and interesting history. And so the book I wanted to talk about first is somewhat in the same time period. So Soulless, Gail Carriger's first book in the Parasol Protectorate series,
Mhm.
is also set in a version of Victorian London that's very steampunk in nature. So there's some of the inventions, steam-powered fantastical devices that feature a little bit in the series, but they just provide a backdrop, a sense to it. And in terms of heat level, this one's a little racy. Especially there's a very steamy scene towards the end that is adult.
Yes.
But if you're looking for something for a younger audience, Gail Carriger has an entire other series about a young girl going to a school for assassins. So there's that.
That's her finishing school series.
Finishing school, yes. Yeah, which is another great series. So this one, so the main character, Alexia Tarabati, is a young adult in a world where she is expected to speak only when spoken to, and dress politely, don't get any stains on your clothing, and get married and conform. And she wants more than anything to be friends with interesting people, to be to be an independent intellectual person. She loves to read, she loves science, and she has fantastic friends, including a vampire and a werewolf. The gorgeous Lord Macon, who features in the series quite considerably. So it's a great mystery with a little bit of politics, but it's not heavy in the story of London politics, but some great intrigue and great romance between her and Lord Macon.
Yes, Blue Stocking meets werewolf, and
yeah.
I love that book. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was really terrific. My kid really loved the finishing school books, but the Parasol Protectorate, I'm like, yeah, wait till you're a little older.
Yeah, so she and I forgot to mention, she has an interesting power in that she can cancel out people's supernatural abilities with her touch, which also has a little bit of a racy aspect to it too. If you can imagine dating a werewolf to keep them from wolfing out.
Time of the full moon. Ah!
Just calm down.
Yeah, it's a very convenient power. All right, well, let us move a little bit out of the Victorian scene, and we're going to go into a very modern sort of alt history, and this is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is quite spicy, but it is also one of my favorite books, definitely among my favorites in the category romance, and probably on my top 10 list of all books. And partly it's because it is one of the funniest novels I've ever read. It is hilarious. Casey McQuiston's book, her writing is like, the humor in it is absolutely top notch. And so the setting is 2020 in America and England. And imagine an alternate timeline where in the 2016 presidential elections, a woman won. Now, this woman was not Hillary Clinton. This woman was named Ellen Claremont, and she's a divorced mother who is remarried, and her 2 children are biracial, right? So Ellen is white, and her first husband was Mexican, and so she has biracial children. And the first son, Alex, is a millennial in every sense of the word, and I mean that very affectionately. And he has a small cadre of very close friends, including his older sister and the vice president's granddaughter, who is a former girlfriend of his, and they're like this White House trio is what they're called. And also some very good millennial friends over in England. So imagine what happens when the first son of the United States falls in love with the Prince of Wales. And we are not talking about the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles. We are talking about Prince Henry, who is like 23 and an international heartthrob. Okay. Maybe see where this is going. But it is a fantastic story. It is the alternate timeline that for the last few years, a lot of us wished we had been living in. And it's a funny book. It's very tenderhearted. It's really meaningful, about, in particular, about Alex coming to understand his sexuality, and also about Prince Henry coming to accept his. And it's written in a way that just makes you happy, right? In addition to being an extremely good story, really funny, really well written, it's also got all the feels, like all the happy feels, and the requisite happy ending. So, Red, White, and Royal Blue.
I can't wait to read it. You mentioned that title to me when we were talking about romance novels. It might have been this time last year. So I've had it on my wish list for a while. Thank you for reminding me what a good book it is.
It is a fantastic book. And I do on my blog every year at the end of the year, I do, I guess at the beginning of the year, I do a reading year in review of all the books that I read the previous 12 months. And I always invite my readers to say, hey, if you want to have a review of any of these books, let me know. And Red, White, and Royal Blue was one that a few people requested reviews of. So, my friends, this is your review of that book. It's awesome. Pick it up, read it, throw all the monies at Casey McQuiston. She also has another book that's out this year. I think it's called One Last Stop. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read it yet. I don't have it yet. I am very much looking forward to it, because, like I said, the writing is top notch.
Yay! Well, the other book I wanted to talk about is one you may have seen the movie that it's based on, Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I love Miyazaki and all of his movies. They're beautiful. We've watched them with the kids, by ourselves, I mean, with our friends. They're just fantastic stories with a lot of heart. And this one is incredibly romantic. And even if you've seen the movie or maybe heard that it was based on a book, fantastic novel that really captures the essence of the story that you saw in the movie, but also gives you a lot more depth about the characters and about the story. So just to kind of capture what it's about. So Sophie is a young woman, probably 18 years old-ish, who works in her mother's hat shop with her sisters and is very resigned to looking forward to a very dull life managing the hat shop. She lives in a city by the coast that's been at war forever with the neighboring kingdom. And so there's this kind of backdrop of a certain futility of life, but also the legend of the wizard Howl, who steals women's hearts. So be careful if you're out walking late at night. He's a legendary shady character. Well, he waltzes into her life, almost quite literally, out of the blue. And she ends up being a huge help to him as much as he is to her. But let's see, not to give too much away, but I think in one of the classic fairy tale fables is being cursed. And I thought about Sophie's curse and the fact that in so many romantic stories, the woman is either put to sleep for many years, like Sleeping Beauty or Snow White.
A kiss of true love.
Yeah. And in this case, no, she's made incredibly old, which just makes her grouchy and surly and, I mean, frankly, unattractive. And she just sort of settles into it and actually finds the strength from within the het curse to change the world around her. So it's a it's a very non-traditional romantic tale.
Yeah, I love the movie, so I haven't read the book. That'd be fun to read.
There's some different twists in terms of you get to know the characters in just a slightly different way. So yeah, you get it. It's really true to the movie while just offering a bit more detail.
Oh, that's good. Kind of like the Bridgerton series.
Yeah.
Which I'm not actually going to talk about today, other than to say, go for it. That's fun stuff. But that's all I'm going to say about Bridgerton right now because it's so popular.
Uh-huh.
So I have one more book, Mr. Darcy Takes a Wife by Linda Birdall. This is an older book. I think I first read it probably 15 years ago. Let me think. Yeah, this book came out in 2004, so it's been out for a while, and it had a sequel. I don't know if there was a whole series involved, but Mr. Darcy Takes a Wife is very elegant fan fiction. It is
Mhm.
it is a sequel to Pride and Prejudice, as you can probably imagine. Um,
Mhm.
and it is wonderful. If you
Mm.
like books that you can dig into, really get involved, lots of good world building, wonderful, rich characters, good pacing, a dense plot, and an ensemble cast, then you should maybe think about this one. Mr. Darcy Takes a Wife, as you can imagine from the title, is on the racy spectrum, like on the racy side of the spectrum, and it talks about the. It basically begins with Lizzie Bennet and Mr. Darcy's wedding, and it covers the first, I don't know, couple of years maybe of their marriage, and all of the characters that you saw and had any sort of reaction to in Pride and Prejudice have come back, plus some new characters. There are a lot of exciting twists and turns in this story. It is a very lovely look at a super happy, successful marriage, and which is not without its bumps and turns, right?
Mhm.
It is a pretty dense book. I'm not gonna lie. This is one that if you want a simple beach read that you don't have to think too much about, this is probably not the book for you. If you want something that you can really immerse yourself in and spend some time like escaping the rest of the world for a while, this is a good one.
Mm.
I enjoyed this one very much. This
Lovely.
was a fun book.
Well, I'm crazy about Pride and Prejudice, and I just finished reading, I think, pretty much all of Jane Austen's works. That wasn't that long ago. So it would be awesome to follow it up with that. That sounds beautiful.
I've read a lot of Pride and Prejudice fan fiction, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's fan fiction, right? It's a
Uh,
spin-off, or it's a sequel, or it's a reimagining. I've read a lot of those books because I am such a fan of Jane Austen, and Pride and Prejudice is probably my favorite of her novels. I just find it to be incredibly funny. Not funny in the same way as Red, White, and Royal Blue,
mm,
but I think that it's just a delightful story. I love the change between the way the two people fall in love and change each other in really beneficial ways. I
yeah.
think a great trope, great concept. Um, and I have read a lot of books that are sequels or reimaginings of Pride and Prejudice and the characters that continue on. And this one is probably my
Mm.
favorite. I've read Mr. Darcy's Daughters, which is about the five daughters of Lizzie and Mr. Darcy. Their parents hardly make any entrance into the story at all, but it's really a story about their daughters. I've read one called Mr. Darcy Vampire, which
Ooh.
is sort of a really entertaining gothic romp,
Mhm.
where Lizzie, finds herself married to this man, and he's got this terrible Byronic secret, and she can't figure out what's wrong with him and why he's acting so strangely. It turns out he's a vampire, and he doesn't want to, right? Like, I'm not really spoiling anything. Like, you can figure that from the title. But that was really unexpected.
Mm.
um, I've read a few others too, like but Mr. Darcy Takes a Wife by Linda Birdall is definitely my favorite of
Aw,
the genre. It's good stuff.
nice, nice. Well, thanks for catching me up on a few new books to put on my to-do list.
Yes, most definitely. This was fun. So I know we missed our January book chat because there are a couple of things going on in January. Got a little
Mhm.
busy. But this is our February one. It's centered around the theme of romance for Valentine's season, and I guess we'll do this again in March.
That sounds great.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Kara.
Thank you, Angelique. Talk to you again soon.
All right, see y'all later. Bye.